What's up, guys? We are back with another Marvel Legends review, taking a look at one of the new pinless figures in a 2-pack today. So we're taking a look at the Old Man Logan and Old Man Hawkeye 2-pack. Logan being a lot of parts reuse, but Hawkeye here being, what, I think 100% new, and he is the one of the poster child figures for the new pinless technology that Hasbro is pumping out with Legends. So I'm really interested to see what's going on with this guy. We saw this with War Machine, but only in the arms. So this guy has pinless arms and knees. So yeah, he should be pretty cool. So we've got this here in a very different style box, because I've not seen one of these boxes yet as far as the X-Men style of boxes that they're pumping out right now. So it's kind of a gray color scheme with the figures there in the window, the X logo down there, and the names. And then each side panel has a piece of artwork for the figure in question. So Hawkeye on the right, Logan on the left, and then there's a larger shot of that artwork on the back. So there's not a whole lot on the back outside of just artwork. There's nothing else, just two big shots of the characters. I guess that is a lot, but at the same time it's kind of sparse while still being very full, if that makes any sense. So let's do it. Let's pull these guys out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Old Man Logan and our Old Man Hawkeye. So this is definitely a very interesting set because of what it means for Marvel Legends as a whole going forward, and what they're planning on trying to do with figures and changing up the engineering of these figures. So we've got our Logan, and this is very much a figure that we are mostly familiar with. There is a lot of reuse here, but it's a very specific look for Logan. And then we've got our Hawkeye, and this guy is, of course, one of the new characters, figures that implements the pinless system. So he has no pins in his elbows and no pins in his knees. So we've already seen one. War Machine had no pins in his elbows, but he still had older legs, so he still had pins there. This guy is, I believe, 100% new. I don't think there's anything reuse on Hawkeye. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. But who knows? It's a crazy toy world right now. So let's get started, see what these guys can do. I'm going to start with Logan. We're going to kind of run through him first because, again, he is a little bit of familiar territory, but still something very specific. And then we will get to our old silver-haired Hawkeye. So as far as moving this old guy around, he is going to be somewhat familiar territory, I suppose. Well, pretty much all familiar territory. He does have the jacket to deal with, and I don't know if this is reuse. I'm assuming it's not. It doesn't look familiar to me. You know, like I said, it's a crazy toy world right now. There is new stuff every single day. So I am having such a hard time keeping track of what is what. So I don't know that this is new, but I also don't think it's old. So yeah, there we go. So as far as moving him around, he can look up super far. He can look down super far, and he has, let's see, a little bit of attitude, actually quite a bit of attitude, and then you've got full rotation there as well. You can also do the kind of lollipop thing, jutting back and forth. Arms go out at the shoulders, they rotate. You do have to worry about these kind of sleeves, almost half sleeves on the jacket. There is no butterfly joint in there because this is old stuff. You've got your bicep swivel, we've got our double jointed elbows. Mine are super tight on this guy though, super tight, and they still go about that far. You've got rotation and hinges, lateral hinges, on his wrist, both of them. As far as abs go, he can go forward pretty good. And coupled with that head that can look really far down, he's going to work really well in that regard, especially, you know, going up, or if you, in my case, you pop the head right off. So we've got stuff like that. He goes backwards about one click, and it's really not too much because, of course, that jacket does get in the way a little bit. You've got your waist twist. Legs go out about yay far. They kick forward pretty much 90 degrees. Backwards, not really at all. You've got your thigh cut. We've got double jointed knees. They go back about that far, not too crazy. He certainly doesn't kick his own butt. And then you've got rotation at the top of the ankle. There's a little ball there. And then you've got rocker, and you've got hinges. So these are old legs, and this was kind of the problem with these. They don't go back too far because of the fraying and kind of the flayed nature of the pants there. But they go forward pretty good. So not too far on the back kick, but pretty good on the forward. So he moves pretty well. I mean, even with this jacket, it doesn't get too much in the way. Again, he is a lot of retread from that Old Man Wolverine, Old Man Logan figure we got, I don't know, what, a few years ago at this point? In the, what was that, the Warlock wave of X-Men figures? So yeah, I mean, he definitely is familiar territory, but he still moves pretty well. And despite the fact that he has that big rubbery cape, cloak thing, he still is pretty dynamic. And I'm sure you won't have any issues really moving him around. Now, aesthetically speaking, Logan Wolverine looks pretty solid. I really don't have a lot of gripes here, honestly. And my biggest thing with this figure, I suppose, is just how cool the head sculpt looks. I'm really happy with this head. It's an unmasked Logan, it's an unmasked Wolverine, but it's an old one, and he looks so much better than that old Logan we got years ago. They do include that head this time around as well, but this one looks so much cooler. So you've got, you know, the kind of just regular shirt buck for Logan here. You've got his you know, big belt buckle, and then you've got him in the jeans with the boots down here. So it's kind of a, you know, civilian-ish look for him, and it worked really well in that old figure, and I think it works really well here. I do really like this jacket. It is still going to be a little bit cumbersome, but at the same time, it doesn't really get too much in the way. I like the rather dynamic nature of it. You've got a ton of wrinkles, a lot of stitching in it. There is a little bit of a dry brushing up here for some patina, some wash on it. And then you've got wear and tear all over it, and it looks good. It looks, you know, Old West style. So I really do like that. And I like the way the sleeves are kind of integrated into the shoulder area of this jacket. It's interesting, it's different. Again, it's really, really striking me that I can't figure out if this is old or new because I just can't place it, but it's new to me right now, so I'm really happy with it. He does, of course, have clawed hands on him in the box, and these are the older style claws, so they're kind of the pearlescent look as well. These will likely, by the end of the video, be swapped out with metal claws from Can of Beams if I can find an extra set. I think I've got one for this guy. And these are okay. I mean, they are kind of warped in the package, so you can mess around with them. If you're going to use these, heat them up and try to reshape them a little bit, or just sort of move them around. They're okay. I've never been a huge fan of them just because they're kind of flimsy. And of course, you know, they have to adhere to safety standards because this is a toy sold at retail. So they can't be giving kids tiny little knives like I want to shove into this guy's hands. They do the job, but of course they are not the greatest. The big area for me, though, like I said, is 100% the head sculpt because it is so different, it's so specific, and frankly, it is really, really well done. And I'm not quite sure what it is about this head sculpt that really does it for me. It's just, I think it's the expression on his face. Like, he looks like he just doesn't want to deal with anybody's nonsense right now. And he just looks like he's had enough. He's very unhappy. He's old. He's grizzled. He is tired of everybody's just nonsense all day long. And this is just a really nice looking old Wolverine, old Logan from the comic books type of look. I like the hat. It's very much like the jacket where it's really distressed. It's got a little bit of dry brushing on it, and then it does have a lot of wear and tear up there, so it's really frayed. It's definitely seen some use. He has the beard, he's got the mustache, and then he's got those piercing eyes, you know, stare right into your soul. But I think the sculpt on this guy is really good as far as the head goes. The paint is really well done, and it just looks good. It looks like an old comic book Wolverine, and that's really what I wanted. Compared to that old figure that we got, this definitely kind of hits all those marks for me when it comes to the head sculpt. My enjoyment of the Wolverine figure aside, the star of this pack is obviously and undoubtedly this Hawkeye figure because, well, it is what it is. He is new technology when it comes to Marvel Legends. And I'm pretty happy with the end result here. There's a lot of cool stuff going on with this figure. I mean, he's maybe not going to blow your mind, but when you compare him to like a Bucky Cap figure, for example, it's so much different. It's just a very different experience when it comes to Legends. There are a lot of different body styles when it comes to this line, and I'm hoping that we see more of this because aesthetically it's very pleasing. It doesn't necessarily change the game as far as range of motion per se, not too much anyway, but aesthetically it really does it, and it's kind of firing on all cylinders. So as far as the head goes, he can't really look up too far because he does have this luxurious head of hair, but he can look down really good. You've got a little bit of attitude, tilt side to side, and then full rotation, of course. Arms go out at the shoulders pretty far up. You've got full rotation at the shoulder as well. There is a butterfly joint there, which actually works really well. You do have your bicep swivel, and then we've got our double jointed pinless elbows, and they go about that far. And just look at that. It's seamless. It looks fantastic, especially from the back when you've got it fully extended. It looks great. And I've never been too hung up on pins in the Legends line. It's not like a big deal for me, except for when the colors of the pins don't match the colors of the arm. And we see that a lot on Spider-Man figures. So that's one thing that I'm really happy we're going to be able to get away from eventually. This, however, it probably would have been just fine, but the range of motion on it's really good, and it looks fantastic. He has got wild range of motion on his wrists, too. Look at this. So that's pretty crazy. He's got crazy hinge on that wrist there, and then you've got full rotation, and he has a what is this? This is a lateral hinge on the other side there. So he's got two different types of wrists, and I mean that's just crazy. As far as the crunch goes, he goes backwards and then he goes forwards, pretty good, especially coupled with his ability to look down. You've got your twist at the waist. Legs go out about yay far. They kick forward more than 90 degrees, slightly more, backwards a little bit. You do have your thigh cut, and then we've, of course, got our pinless double-jointed knee. He doesn't necessarily kick his butt, but I will take this look over that ability any day of the week. We'll see what Robo has to say about that, if he hasn't already gotten to this one. I know he likes to do that. And then we've got our boot cut down here, and then you've got rocker, and you've got hinges. I will say one area that I don't particularly like the aesthetic at the joint is at the boot. Something about it just seems kind of fat and chunky to me. It seems kind of weird in certain lights, but for the most part, it's fine. It's a minor, super minor nitpick there. Otherwise, this figure moves really well. He's very fluid. You shouldn't have any issues getting him into good dynamic poses. And, at the end of the day, this aesthetic works so well for me. I say it a lot. I'm all about being able to have really nice looking representations of figures on the shelves, so I love the idea of getting away from pins just to make them look a little bit cleaner, and it definitely works here. Now, as far as aesthetics in general, this is another instance where I think they really nailed it with this set too, and a lot of that does come again down to the head sculpt. But as far as the figure itself goes, I mean, you've got Hawkeye here in some kind of like tactical pants, you've got the boots, there is a decent amount of paint down here as far as the joints, and then on the boots themselves, everything's really crisp and clean. You've got the belt with the metallic buckle there. Kind of just a standard shirt for the chest, but it's got nice wrinkles all over it to kind of show that he is, he's still kind of ripped under there and he's stressing that fabric, so that works. He's got the wraps on his arm, which is all sculpted, so this isn't just paint, it is sculpted. And then you've got the asymmetrical look with the glove over here, so I really do like that. That tends to always do it for me. It's some simple little asymmetrical look on a figure. You've got his man purse, his satchel over here, which is free floating. You can take that off if you want to. And then you've got the harness on him. You could also get this off him as well. It's not sculpted on it as a separate piece. More of that kind of Legends patented leather type of look when it comes to the way this is designed. And then, the big thing is the head sculpt, because I think they really killed it. This is fantastic looking. I think they just kind of went all out to make this figure topped off really well, and this head sculpt absolutely sells an Old Man Hawkeye. And you can see that a little better when we kind of get in close on him. And a lot of it to me comes down to just the design of the hair and the beard, because the hair and the beard really match with that kind of salt and pepper look. So you've got the flowing hair, and it is very windswept. It is a very specific style. So of course it does get in the way of his head movement a little bit, but at the same time it does look really good. And then you've got the strand that falls down. You've got those eyes that are really clean and crisp and nicely painted. And then just a good sculpt on top of it with all of that really bushy beard and mustache, which does have a lot of white, kind of white cream dry brushing in there to bring out some of the sculpt while also making him look a little bit more distinguished in his old age. But he's just like Logan, where he looks like he is tired of it and he is really curmudgeonly, but at the same time still very much looks like he is a no-nonsense kind of dude. And then here they are side by side, so we can talk about accessories, because there's a decent number of accessories in this pack. The first of which we're going to talk about are the extra head sculpts. So I've already mentioned that Wolverine has one, so he's got that same Old Man Logan head sculpt that we got previously, and this one, he just looks like an old man here. I've never been a huge fan of it. I very much get a Cotton Hill from King of the Hill look and feel and vibe for this thing. I can't not look at that without thinking of it. It's well done, it's well sculpted, it just doesn't really ever seem like Wolverine to me, so I'll probably be sticking completely with the one that comes within the box. Hawkeye, however, I'm going to have a hard time picking which one I prefer here, because this head sculpt looks awesome. I absolutely love the ponytail, and I really like the glasses on him. I think it just makes him look entirely different. It makes him look even more kind of a badass, so I'm really happy with this one as well. I don't like not being able to pick my favorite head sculpt to know which one's going to eventually make it onto a shelf whenever they get put on one, but I do really like this one. So it's just a very different kind of look while still giving you that same kind of feel for the character. Now, as far as other stuff, we've got, I don't know if anything here is necessarily better than anything else. They're just sort of specific things. So we've got, to start with, we've got the baby Hulk. And this guy, wasn't he called Bruce Banner Jr. in the comic? It's been so long since I've read this comic. I mean, basically, I read it when it came out, and that was it. So you've got, you know, the baby Hulk here, which is done up in a little swaddle, and he's got his very nicely done hair, very deep green skin, and he's got that purple pacifier. So, of course, you know, you throw him with your baby Yoda and have him go at it. I do like this. I'm really happy that they included this, because it's a really specific thing to this story, so it's kind of important. It's really cool to get that, too. It's a very unique accessory that I'm sure will make its way into a lot of other pictures that other folks have. We've got a set of extra hands here. I'm not really sure who these are intended for because they're just sort of smack dab in the middle of the box. I'm going to assume Wolverine because they're slightly smaller hands. They're just style pose hands. You could use them on either one, I suppose. But they do look a little small to be Hawkeye's hands. I don't expect I'm ever going to use these because Wolverine pretty much always has claw hands for me, and Hawkeye needs to be gripping his bow. So you've got an extra set of hands, if you so choose. And then we've got stuff specifically for Hawkeye. So you've got his quiver of arrows. This thing pops on his back. He does have a peg hole back here, so you can put it on his back. It has no paint on it. It's just black. It's very much full of arrows there. So you've got the very much quintessential Hawkeye accessory in that regard. We do have two bows for him as well. So you've got a just a standard bow here, standard black bow, so it matches the color scheme of the quiver and the arrows. Kind of a tactical bow. I don't know anything about bow and arrows, so if I'm saying anything wrong, you know, don't kill me over that. But you've got this. He can hold it really well, and that really comes down to the ability to have this crazy articulated wrist over there. And then you've got this, and I'm pretty sure this is like a compound bow. So you've got the big, you know, kind of strings here, which with all of the whatever it is, and then the arrow that's already in there. So you do have one bow that has an arrow in it, and then you've got the other bow as far as just being one if you just want to have him holding a standard bow with nothing in it. So you've got two different options. You can kind of have him pulling an arrow from the quiver almost with this particular hand. It very much works in that regard. So he does come with a decent amount of stuff, or they, I should say, come with a decent amount of stuff. It's not a ton, but it is pretty much everything you need for a Wolverine, and bow and arrow and a cool extra head is pretty much all you really need for a Hawkeye. And then you get this little goober. So yeah, it's a pretty well-rounded out set, all things considered, when you take into account what these characters are, what they should come with, and then everything that's in the box. So overall, I am pretty happy with this set. I do still kind of find it odd that Hawkeye, Old Man Hawkeye, is one of the characters they decided was going to be a test subject for this new pinless system. But it works really well, so what am I to complain about there? There's nothing really bad about this set, honestly. If you're into this particular instance of these two characters, there's no reason not to scoop this up. The Wolverine figure is really well done. The Hawkeye figure is definitely the star of the show because he is just so different. He does move really well. I mean, you're not going to see a huge game-changing difference with these pinless arms and legs, but they do move incredibly fluidly and they look so good. So it really comes down to that. They look very well while not giving you any reason to want to go back to having pins. I just hope to see a lot more of this as Legends tries to do new things with their engineering. And then the overall set is really well packed out. It comes with basically everything you need here. I'm not really in a sense that I feel like I'm missing out on anything with this set. Wolverine has Wolverine stuff, Hawkeye has Hawkeye stuff, and they come with a little swaddled baby Hulk. What more do you really need? So that's going to do it for this look at the Marvel Legends Old Man Logan and Hawkeye 2-pack. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until next time.